What did you learn? Hopefully you learned a lot about tax planning, and you learned a lot about understanding there's a lot of variables involved in tax planning. There are CPA firms that specialize in tax planning, and then there are tax practitioners who don't do tax planning. It's important to understand what that means. And so one of the discussion questions at the end of chapter 3 says to describe the three parties engaged in every business transaction and how understanding taxes may aid in structuring those transactions. And so sometimes you're like, wait, why are there three? So you have to really think about that. So in every transaction, you have the taxpayer, the other transacting party, and the government, which your book says it's an uninvited silent party. This specifies the tax consequences of the transaction. And so effective tax planning will involve understanding the tax and the non-tax cost from the taxpayer's perspective, the other party's perspective, and then understanding how the government or the Internal Revenue Service allows us to structure our transaction in the best way. And so for those of you in the online class, you had a discussion question that says, the goal of tax planning is to minimize taxes. Explain why this is not true. So those of you in the hybrid class, you won't be answering that as a discussion board question, but think about it. I'm not going to give you the answer here because I want you guys to do that and think about that before you post your answers. But those of you in the hybrid course, we may talk about that next week in class, so think about that. The goal is to minimize taxes. That's not a good attitude. That's not a good way to look at it. So let's talk about what is a good way to look at that, and be thinking about that as you begin the next chapter. Thank you.